Whatever they are, whatever the film or the Eurovision drama, it's coffee time. This is Emmanuel calling from Coffee Break, where we take a break and discuss about films, Eurovision, and much more. Grab yourself some mug of hot tea or coffee, take a sip, and let's dive into this. Let's talk about my BAFTA predictions. Let's kick things off with Best Film. Now, there are only 5 slots, so I have One Battle After Another, Hamnet, Sinners, and Sentimental Value as locks. And then at 5th place, I have Marty Supreme. So I don't really have to comment that much on that 5. It's a pretty safe 5. Now, who could upset? Perhaps sort of Begonia, which overperformed in the long lists for BAFTA, but I don't think that it can actually break into the 5 best film slots. So my final predictions for best film at BAFTA is One Battle After Another, Hamnet, Sinners, Sentimental Value, and Marty Supreme. When it comes to best director, I have Paul Thomas Anderson, Chloe Zhao, Joachim Trier, Ryan Coogler, and Josh Safdie as locks. Basically, Guillermo del Toro wasn't longlisted, so he's out of the race at BAFTA. So at slot number 6, I have Yorgos Lanthimos for Begonia, because that film overperformed at the long lists, and I think that BAFTA are going to embrace that film as they're going to embrace a lot of European films and definitely British films. They have a bias against international films and American films in some aspects, so I think that when it comes to the other contenders that we're left with, I think Yorgos Lanthimos is the definite standout. I mean, because they sort of have to nominate long list 5 male directors and 5 female, they had to nominate directors like Hikari for Rental Family and Catherine Bigelow for A House of Dynamite. So between these contenders, Yorgos Lanthimos definitely has the upper hand there, so I'm going to predict him. So my final predictions for Best Director at BAFTA is Paul Thomas Anderson, Chloe Zhao, Joachim Trier, Ryan Coogler, Josh Safdie, and Yorgos Lanthimos. When it comes to Best Actress, I have Jessie Buckley at number 1. Obviously, Hamnet is also a sort of a British coded film, so there's going to be a slight bias towards Hamnet, all the better for it. And then Renate Reinsve I have at number 2. I think that they're also going to love, embrace Sentimental Value, and she's a major contender in that category. Not competitive to win anything, but she's definitely a staple. She has been a staple of this category the entire awards season, so she's in. Rose Byrne, I think that they're going to go for her as well. And then Emma Stone for Begonia. I mean, if I think that Clemens is making it in, I have no reason to believe that Emma Stone is not. And then at number 5, even though it's not a lock, I can see potentially Kate Hudson popping up as well, but I do have Chase Infinity at number 5, even though she missed that Best Actress nomination at the Academy Awards. And then at number 6, I have Jennifer Lawrence for Die My Love. I think that she's in. At BAFTA, she of course didn't get the Oscar nomination as many people earlier on in the season believed, but I've heard that she's very good in the film, and it is a British film, and it got longlisted at Best Director and Best Cinematography, I believe, so it's sort of overperformed, and the competition is really not there. I mean, Tessa Thompson could also pop up, I mean, and sure, there are any major contenders. So my final predictions for Best Leading Actress at BAFTA is Jessie Buckley, Hamnet, Renate Reinsve, Sentimental Value, Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, Emma Stone, Begonia, Chase Infinity, One Battle After Another, and Jennifer Lawrence, Die My Love. When it comes to Best Leading Actor, Timothée Chalamet is my current number 1. I'm not locking in on that win. I think that it's not a 100% lock that he's winning BAFTA, but he's definitely getting nominated, so that's enough for me to add him on my 6. And then Leonardo DiCaprio, also a lock. I think Ethan Hawke has a very, very solid shot at getting in at BAFTA, so I have him in. And then Michael B. Jordan, I'm not going to doubt him again. He's in the Oscars, and for him to miss BAFTA would just be so strange, so I have him in. And then at number 5, I have Jesse Plemons, again for that overperformance of Begonia. He didn't make it at the final lineup at the Oscars, but still, I think that he's in for a nomination at BAFTA. And then at number 6, I'm going out on a limb and adding Russell Crowe for Nuremberg. Please just let him appear in any major televised precursor. He's so freaking amazing in Nuremberg, and for him not to get any recognition would be just so absurd. He deserves it so much. And I do think that Robert Aramayo for a British film called I Swear, which has had rave reviews, it's really praised to the high heavens and above. So I do think that he also has a shot. If I were to remove someone, it would probably be, well, my head would say Russell Crowe, but my heart would say Michael B. Jordan, just for sticking around to that Oscar snub prediction, which didn't pan out, of course. And don't want to appear racist in any sort of way, because I'm not. And it has nothing to do with the skin of his color. I just think that film, Sinners, a really excellent film. It has such an ensemble cast that it's really hard to stand out, and this sort of dual role we have seen not being an awards push as much as we initially think it always is. So that's why I was doubting him, but now I just have him in, and I have Robert Aramayo out, even though he would be my alternate. My final predictions for Best Leading Actor at BAFTA is Timothée Chalamet, Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke, Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan, Sinners, Jesse Plemons, Begonia, and Russell Crowe, Nuremberg. Inka Episodor Lilias has a shot of winning BAFTA. Surprisingly, I mean, Elle Fanning was not longlisted, but I think that she has a shot. She's definitely in, I think, as is Teyana Taylor, Amy Madigan, and I also think that Emily Watson for Hamnet is going to make an appearance here, as is Wunmi Mosaku for Sinners. I think that those 5 are pretty much locks for BAFTA. And then at number 6, I'm going out on a limb, and I mean, I did want to add a Marty Supreme actress, and since Odessa Azayan didn't make it at the Oscars, even though she was nominated at SAG, I think that Gwyneth Paltrow is the one who's going to take her place at BAFTA as well. So my final predictions for Best Supporting Actress is Inga Episodor Lilias, Sentimental Value, Teyana Taylor, One Battle After Another, Amy Madigan, Weapons, Emily Watson, Hamnet, Wunmi Mosaku, Sinners, and Gwyneth Paltrow, Marty Supreme. Let's move on to Supporting Actor. This is my final sort of 6, because there are 6 slots, and I have Paul Mescal getting in, even though he was snubbed at the Oscars, shockingly, and I still think that he's making it at BAFTA. As I said, it's a sort of the one precursor which is sort of I believe will have a bias towards Hamnet because of its British roots, and with 6 slots I just can't see him missing out. And then at number 6 I have Delroy Lindo after his shock, really pleasantly shocking Oscar nomination. And I think that he's in at BAFTA as well, just sort of double dipping on that performance, and who else could make it in? I mean, Adam Sandler, I think, at this point is out of the race. He was obviously not in the Oscars, so I mean there's a really lack of a more compelling alternative. So my final predictions for Best Supporting Actor. Oh, and also Adam Scott for Blue Moon. I don't think that it's happening anymore. Maybe, well, he's my alternate as well, and I did have him in, but since Delroy Lindo was nominated, I don't know. So there's this sort of that gut feeling that he's not going to be one of those actors who show up literally nowhere and then get in the Oscars. So my final predictions are Stellan Skarsgård, Sentimental Value, Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another, Paul Mescal, Hamnet, Sean Penn, One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi, Frankenstein, and Delroy Lindo, Sinners. As for Best Original Screenplay, it's basically my Oscar 5. I could see a Sorry Baby appearing here, but I'm not sure even if that was even longlisted, and I'm just not going to go through that list because I'm just so certain that these are going to be the final 5. I think Blue Moon is sort of a BAFTA play here as well, so I think that it's getting in as well. So my final predictions for Best Original Screenplay are Sentimental Value, Sinners, It Was Just an Accident, Marty Supreme, and Blue Moon. When it comes to adapted screenplay, I just don't want to nominate every single category, don't want to predict that every single category is going to mirror the correspondent category at the Oscars, so I'm going out on some limbs here, and I'm taking out, let's see, who was nominated at the Oscars. Frankenstein, I think that it's not going to be as embraced at BAFTA, and that opens up a slot for a 5th place squeezing in. And I was between a British film, particularly Pillion or The Ballad of Wallis Island, but I ended up going with Nuremberg, which I think that is going to get a few BAFTA nominations here. Perhaps it's my bias because I love that film, and I could definitely see Pillion getting in as well. That would be my alternate, but I'm going out on a major limb here and adding Nuremberg as my 5th slot prediction. So my final predictions for Best Adapted Screenplay at BAFTA is One Battle After Another, Hamnet, Begonia, Train Dreams, and Nuremberg. Let's move on to Best British Film. I think that I'm just going to predict the most well-acclaimed British films, and as for the final 2-3 slots, I think Steve is getting in based on the long list omission of Cillian Murphy for Best Actor, and then The Choral, just because Ray Fiennes is in that, and The Ballad of a Small Player finally. I did have I almost put The Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman, but that got some really abysmal reviews, so I had to remove it and put Ballad of a Small Player in for no particular reason. It's just Netflix and it's a compelling alternate. So my final predictions for Best British Film are Hamnet, I Swear, Die My Love, Ballad of Wallis Island, Pillion, 28 Years Later, Warfare, Steve, The Choral, and Ballad of a Small Player. Best non-English language film, I have the 4 major locks at the Oscars, and at number 5, please, just no other choice. Let that be BAFTA nominated and not have it completely out of any sort of major televised award precursor except for Golden Globes, which just got actor and I believe international feature, which is insane. That film should have been nominated at multiple categories at the Oscars. But still, please let that happen. I mean, who is the alternative here? I mean, The Voice of Hindu Rajab, I don't think that has that much of a push at BAFTA, so my final predictions for best non-English language film is Sentimental Value, The Secret Agent, It Was Just an Accident, Charade, and No Other Choice. And as for best documentary, I have The Perfect Neighbor, which is getting in everywhere. And then I know I butchered my predictions for the Oscars, and I didn't even comment that 2000 Meters to Andrivka didn't even make it, which is absolutely bonkers. But I'm still predicting it for BAFTA. The only change that I made after that sort of fiasco at the Oscars in the best documentary category is taking, I believe, what was it? I believe I took out, anyway, it's just a documentary that I had in for the Oscars and put Mr. Nobody Against Putin, which got in instead of that documentary that I had predicted. I believe it was Cover Up, or, Comes in Me in the Good Light I had taken out. So I'm just rambling here. My fifth slot is basically that Attenborough documentary, nature documentary. They always do that, so I'm predicting that as well. And then 2000 Meters to Drivka and Apocalypse in the Tropics, which both are. And then 2000 Meters to Andrivka and Apocalypse in the Tropics, I think both were fan favorites, so I can see them getting here instead of the Oscars. So my final predictions for best documentary is The Perfect Neighbor, Apocalypse in the Tropics, 2000 Meters to Andrivka, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and Ocean with David Attenborough. Best animated film, for some odd reason, it's just 3 slots here, and K-pop Demon Hunters was not eligible, I believe, for also whatever reason. So these are clearly the 3 contenders that we're left with. Elio, not really a BAFTA film, so I just don't have anything else to add here. Maybe if there were 4 slots, I could have made a brave prediction and put the Demon Slayer film, but now with 3 slots, I think that this is sort of out of the question. I will jump out of my seat if that gets nominated. So my final predictions for best animated film is Little Amelie, Zootopia 2, and Arco. And let's wrap things up with a few technical categories. Best editing, I have the 4 films that were nominated at the Oscars. I'm still doubting Sinners for that best editing nomination, even at BAFTA, which I think that it's definitely a high probability, but I'm going out on a major limb here and adding my heart is made of dynamite. Shout out to Marcus Riva and his single Dynamite. But The House of Dynamite, directed by, or A House of Dynamite even, directed by Catherine Bigelow, is a contender at best editing. It was nominated at Critics' Choice, so a BAFTA nomination. That could be a BAFTA nominated film. Could it? Still haven't watched that. I should watch all of those sort of Oscar nominated or even films that were sort of predicted to be at the Oscars and eventually weren't. So my final predictions for best editing is Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Hamnet, F1, and A House of Dynamite. Best costume design, I have Frankenstein, Hamnet, and Sinners, which were all nominated at the Oscars. And then at number 4, I have Wicked for Good, which was completely shut out of the Oscars, which was devastating. But I think that it's going to be a BAFTA nominated film at least. I mean, it wasn't Oscar nominated, but at least have that get in at BAFTA at any category. And I think costume design, it has a fairly good shot at. And then at number 5, I have the Downton Abbey film, which did get fairly decent reviews and also is a BAFTA sort of film. So I think that that's happening. So my final predictions for best costume design is Frankenstein, Hamnet, Sinners, Wicked for Good, and Downton Abbey, the final chapter. Now, best production design, I did have Avatar Fire and Ash. until that was also snapped at the Oscars. So I switched that with One Battle After Another, which shockingly got in the Oscars. What about that film's production design is so awards worthy? But anyways, and also the lack of a better alternative is a major indicator that One Battle is going to appear here as well. I mean, who else? Could Begonia overperform to that extent? I don't think so. So my final predictions for Best Production Design is Frankenstein, Hamnet, Sinners, Marty Supreme, and One Battle After Another. Best Original Score, I don't have anything to add here. I think Anemone would have made for a really, really awesome nomination, as would be for Daniel Day-Lewis, which is absolutely nuts, the fact that he's not even nominated here. He's the only, or even longlisted here, he's the only actor out there who can literally talk about crap, give an entire monologue about literal excrement, and still have me absolutely riveted. That's a performance for the ages. But still, my final predictions for Best Original Score is Sinners, One Battle After Another, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Begonia. Marty Supreme, I do have it in. It didn't make it at the Oscars, who sort of now definitely have an allergy towards sort of more techno, more electronic scores, which is so unfair and unfortunate, but I think that's happening, and probably Desplat is snubbed here instead over the Begonia score, which was shockingly also in at the Oscar. It made it, which is really insane, but they still did it, so good for them. And finally, let's talk about visual effects. I have Avatar, F1, I do have Wicked for Good in, and The Lost Bus. And for my fifth slot, I have Mickey 17. I'm going out on a huge limp there, but let that be again a BAFTA nominated film. That's a film I really dug. I love Mickey 17 for multiple reasons, but I hope that makes it in here. That would be a cool nomination. So my final predictions for Best Special Visual Effects is Avatar, Fire and Ash, F1, Wicked for Good, The Lost Bus, and Mickey 17. Best Sound, I have Avatar this time around, even though I'm also doubting that. Please don't snub that as well again. And then One Battle and F1 are locks, and then Sinners, it's also kind of a lock. And then at number 5 I have Warfare, which was so snubbed at the Oscars. It wasn't even shortlisted, I believe, which is nuts. That film has some stunning sound editing and sound mixing. That was a bummer. So and I do think that the BAFTAs, with their bias towards Alex Garland, who is a Brit, I believe, they're just not going to let that opportunity slip through their hands. So my final predictions for Best Sound is One Battle After Another, F1, Avatar, Fire and Ash, Sinners, and Warfare. And finally, Makeup and Hair. I think that One Battle After Another is getting in, even though it didn't make it at the Oscars as I was predicting. And then Kuho and The Ugly Stepsister made it, and Sinners, which is sort of nuts for the first two at least, and really cool nominations. But I am going with Wicked for Good here. I might be kicking myself in the balls with this one. Probably Sinners makes it in Makeup and Hair or Sound or both, but I don't think that it's going to overperform to that extent at BAFTA as well. And I think that Wicked is up for a few technical categories nominations at BAFTA. And then I have Begonia at my number 5 slot. I think that that's a category that is an open category, especially for that film to overperform as I'm predicting. So my final predictions for Makeup and Hair is Frankenstein, Wicked for Good, The Smashing Machine, One Battle After Another, and Begonia. That is a wrap. Thanks so much for watching, I do appreciate it. Also make sure to follow me on multiple social media platforms including Letterboxd for more film related content and the awards expert app for real time Oscar predictions. The links are in the description. Can't wait for more coffee breaks. And until next time, pour yourself a fresh one.